Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
So this is David Wheeler. Who am I talking to?
This is Jonathan Lightshoe. I presume you're on your phone.
I'm afraid so. I have some, unfortunately, critical family stuff I have to deal with.
I I hope that everybody's okay, but I can relate from having past family experiences, but it's yeah.
Yeah, everybody is not okay, but we are just dealing with life as it is.
Yeah, that sucks. I'm sorry.
Thank,
Yeah,
thank you very much. Really do appreciate it. So in any
yeah.
case, I am I am dealing with things as they are. So anyway, I do hope to be helpful here, even though I'm on the phone this time around.
Yeah. Is I guess yeah. 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 Family having to step away for family is not something like deal with that. It's not, yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry that whatever you're going through, and I hope that you have everybody comes out of it okay, or
Thank
yeah,
you.
as best as possible.
I'm on a record. This is being recorded. If we, in another situation, if we're not being recorded, I'll be more candid.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but
that's
it
fair.
just seems like this is getting recorded. Maybe that I should be more circumspect.
Yeah, yeah, that's I respect that totally. Yeah, yeah. We have Dave Russo. We have who else do we have here now? See Rob. I looked at my calendar today and I have a meeting with somebody at Google and I'm like, how did that end up on my calendar? Who did how what which conversation did I end up sending a Calendly link to somebody to have them end up sending it or having an invite on my calendar?
Hello, everybody. We will get started in a couple minutes after the hour. Posted a link to our agenda in the Zoom chat. We should be joined today by some very special guests from the far off exotic lands of the European Union. But I have a couple points to talk about first before we have a discussion with the around security maturity. Was I correct in hearing Mr. Wheeler on the phone?
The rumors are true.
I will mark you as present, sir.
All right. Yeah. So I'll be less coy on a not recorded line, but for family reasons, I am unfortunately only able to connect in by phone, and I'm actually driving. So in any case, but I am present to the extent that I can be.
If you get too passionate about the conversation, I suggest you pull over for a moment.
Well, I'm always passionate about the topics here. I actually care about this stuff.
I know. If you get too wrapped up and you want to do some hand motions, just pull over and wait.
I will do my best so that no one has to hear the sounds of an accident. I don't want to hear them either.
Oh, that is just not a pleasant thought.
So if I could have folks sign in on the agenda, that would be great. I have a couple quick topics, and then we're going to be talking about a hopefully open source security maturity model very quickly. And if you have any other items you want to talk about, please post that on the agenda.
While we're waiting, I will just note that discussions about the OpenSSF best practices badge logo continue on the relevant GitHub issue. I can't post it here, but it's been posted earlier. So if you have opinions on various artistic directions, we'd love to hear from you. I'm actually not excited about logo discussions, but I know they're important, and so we do them.
I voted. Everybody should too. All right, it is 3 after the hour. I will post a link to the agenda one last time. Welcome, everybody, to the February 15th edition of the OpenSSF's Developer Security Best Practices Working Group, words and stuff. We are here today to have some exciting discussions around open source secure development. First off, I wanted to let everyone know we finally worked out all the bugs, and with Jen's help, we are now officially on the YouTubes. Yay! So if you don't get enough of meetings during your daily life, you can now watch meetings on YouTube with your face on it, maybe. Very exciting stuff. One thing I wanted to make everyone aware is on February 23rd, the OpenSSF is having a town hall. I've been invited to come talk about the progress of this group and other working groups. So I have posted what I propose I will talk about, kind of describing what the group has done over the last several months and kind of what some of our upcoming objectives are. If anybody has any feedback about that, feel free to either chime in now or make comments or additions, changes on the agenda. And I'll basically kind of use that as some of the highlights I want to hit, kind of highlighting all of the great work that this group has helped contribute to. Any comments on that? Very exciting stuff. Did Rob or anyone from Rob's group show up to talk about open source security maturity models? Double check that the Zoom invite is the same as the Zoom on my invite. It's terrible.
I've come to a meeting before, and my experience has been first timers sometimes don't get the right time zone. Just, stuff happens. So I fear they may show up at the wrong time.
Yeah, I hope not, but we will, if Rob or H or D are the names I have. If anyone from that contingency shows up, we can circle back. So I will open up the floor to the group. What items are we interested in talking about today? Do we maybe want to start on our newbie view for OSS developers, or does somebody else have any pressing items they wish to share?
Going to be quite a short call today. That would be unfortunate.
This is David Wheeler. Just very small items. I just mentioned earlier the best practices badge folks. We're trying to switch over calmly from the old CII to the OpenSSF. We've got a logo contest. Comments welcome. Eventually, we do plan to move over to bestpractices.dev. We're not there right now. That's one of those things where it takes some time to do. For the fundamentals courses, Brian and I are going to be talking with Clyde Suksad from LF Education to find out various options they have there, and I hope to share with the group more here once I learn more myself.
Awesome. Any questions for David on either the best practices or the edX course? Thank you for those updates. I see Glenn furiously typing away. You have anything you'd like to share today, Glenn, about SKF?
Well, yeah, so actually we created a sort of draft, very simple draft of the wireframes. As you know, we're very heavily working on creating like this official learning platform. If you want, I can maybe share a couple of those, at least that you have an idea of what we're up to.
Please.
And maybe people have some feedback, because we're in the beginning stage, I would say, of creating these wireframes. So also we had a chat with one of my OWASP people who is specialized in flows, and actually he gave us the realization that our application currently sucks a bit, because it's more like, hey, here's an awesome feature, and here. And the app itself doesn't really explain or has a good flow, to facilitate how you use all those features. So one of the first things we want to do actually is revisit a bit of the landing page, where we have like 3 inflows now, where first, well, the one where I'm going to focus on now in this draft is the learning platform for learning and increasing skill sets. But we're also going to change the, if you know SKF, it's also about getting the right security requirements. There is a wizard. So we're also going to create a flow around that more for the different phases as well, the plan, do, and act phase. So for the plan phase, you get the security requirements, the wizard for, fine-tuning which requirements. The do phase is like, okay, so you want to, I don't know, test something, here's the testing guide, or here's some other document where you can test stuff. And the act phase, I believe it's more like, hey, these type of tooling and other resources. So it's going to be a better flow. Of course, knowing this now and like, hey, we need to create flows, we thought of, okay, how would this learning engagement look like? So if you click on the learning stuff, you get like the different learning profiles. For the MVP that we want to release in SKF in, well, like 1.5 months, we identified 3 profiles actually, one for secure development, one for web API pen testing, and one for ops infra. So how would that look like? So if one person would click, hey, I want to do secure development, then you get into this page layout, where on the left you have the whole curriculum, a welcome message, a bit about the course. And when you click on one of the main topics, then the idea was that we have like a sort of video that we shoot, where we explain like the basis concepts of, the topic, and really, like a video type of delivery. Then under the main topics, we have subtopics, and the subtopics, well, we can also make it full screen. And in the subtopics, we basically have like a sort of slides that you can view. The idea is also, why is this in a slide format and presented in a web application? Because actually we want to make the slides from Markdown. So then later it's easier to add new topics or enrich the material, and also easier to contribute actually, right? It's just adding new markdowns or changing the markdowns, and we can enrich the material that's there. So this is then, the slides. After the slides, we wanted to do a sort of questionnaire, just to capture, like, did the person really understood, the key messages in there. After we went over all the questionnaires, there will be the button, hey, now you can start the hands-on. And basically that one will spin up in our Kubernetes cluster, the lab. The lab will be like this, with some information, like very minimal guidance, because we already have very detailed write-ups for every lab, like from A to Z. So here's just the basics, like, hey, remember you're doing an SQL injection lab, or you need to fix SQL code. Also, the idea is that you can start it in a full screen mode, sort of say. And also for the labs itself, as you know, now the labs are basically just a web application that's being spinned up. But we're looking into using Apache Guacamole to connect actually using HTML5 to an RDP of a real, like a Debian machine or whatever, where it's also an editor, a browser, the code, some security tooling, because ideally, already looking into the future, we would also like to have another profile learning path for security tools. Like, hey, here is the OpenSSF best practice CodeQL or whatever tool, that you can practice, or here's OWASP where you can scan stuff, or and so on. So for that, we also need then a fully like real operating system where you actually can install stuff. So we're also thinking of replacing the labs with more like this Apache Guacamole type of technology. Then of course, when you did the lab and it's all finished, you go back to the first one and you have a green, like, hey, awesome, you did it. The only thing we're going to do, and what is also key important, that is my second topic that I put on in the chat as well. As you know, I've been working also very hard the last couple of months actually to implement the single sign-on solution technology stack into SKF. It used to be that you needed to create locally all the accounts and users, but of course now we want to make it available and have like a professional production instance for everybody. We also want to really embed the single sign-on solution, so that, for example, with a GitHub user, you can just log in and start the learning platforms. And we can also then track that user ID, how far this person was, how much time it spent in SKF, and so on. Because one of the other things that we had in the to-do list was to build this hook API system for a GitHub or other organizations to pull metrics out of their user stats, right? How long they were in, what they were doing, what trainings that they completed or started, and so on. So two major things. This thing that is being developed, like I said in the last meeting, we're going for the secure developer, actually 4 programming languages: the Python, the Node.js, JavaScript, and the Java. The Node.js, actually all the 70 labs are already completed. They have also been merged already, and the write-ups are already there for those labs as well. I think we're now 30% with the Java labs, and for the .NET labs, we still need to start. So that is ongoing. The release date should be end of March, so still a lot to do. And for the single sign-on solution, we're now actually making a documentation, fine-tuning it. We still need to make the Kubernetes files to properly be able to deploy it, but it locally tested very nicely with Docker Compose. And we're making a blog post as well that can be released. Where we, it's a bit like a story where we came from, that we refactored SKF already like 3 or 4 times in the past 7 years. And, we had this stack, now we have this and this, blah, blah, the new stack. So it's a nice read, I would say, as well, on the improvements we did for the single sign-on solution and with the OpenSSF community. I hope when I have some more functional stuff ready, to also hopefully involve a couple of you guys, especially when we're going to define, and build the curriculum and the slides. From a coverage point of view, I was thinking to use the ASVS as a thread, what to teach to developers, because it touches many of the different topics. Maybe also map it with NIST and other frameworks to see if there are still some gaps, and based on that, create the video materials and the slides to accomplish that. That is more for the secure coding part. For web API, well, that's pretty straightforward. I was thinking there to use the OWASP testing guide, because it's like this very mature, again, very covering a lot of good topics for pen testers, right? How to do things and what things to test. And the last one, the Ops Infra, it is basically very inspired by VulnHub. I don't know if the people know VulnHub. VulnHub is an open source community as well. And they created like, I don't know, 600 different type of virtual machines, which all have like misconfigurations, missing patches. And it's a bit like the OSCP style of hacking, like the infra, finding gaps, exploit them, do privilege escalation. And those actually lessons and example cases are great for ops and infra people, because I've been poking that for the last half year in the company I work for. And they were very excited because they gave finally a glimpse into, yeah, what hackers would abuse when they don't put the dots on the I, right? And how they can do then gain access, do privilege escalation, and from there hop on. Why didn't we use the VulnHub stuff? Unfortunately, because they're all like, yeah, weird virtual machine images. I cannot deploy that in Kubernetes or any form. So there we had a bit to copy a bit and make our own Dockerized images that we can easily kick off from SKF. So that's in a nutshell, real quick status update, what we're doing. A lot of moving parts, as you heard, but I think I have now like around 10 people helping me and working on it, and also a lot from the company I work for at the moment. Yes.
So group, what questions do you have for Glenn? It's a lot. It's a nice update. I appreciate that.
This is David. Quick note, if you're redoing the login routines anyway, I know that Linux Foundation has their own LFID stuff, so that people don't have to lock into particular commercial companies. That might be something useful to add as a login option.
Exactly. That is
I haven't
great to
delved
hear.
into the details. But
Yeah. If you can, hook me up or email, with some maybe also test environment where we can try the connection and the integration, that would be great. Yeah.
okay, I'm not sure exactly who to connect you to, but I'll try to connect you to somebody, and we'll figure it out from there, and
Yes.
see if it makes sense even. But if A, doesn't make sense, and B, if so, what's the next step? I'm not sure what the answers are, but it seems like at least worth a discussion.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
Any other questions for Glenn? I have a question. What can we do to assist you? This seems to be very worthwhile work. You mentioned helping with content. Is there anything the group can help with now, or when would you expect you might circulate a call for papers, so to speak, call for content?
I think honestly, like in so the two guys are now actually who are responsible for creating this wireframe to Angular and to API endpoint calls. They're actually started yesterday on it. So we help them setting up an environment and everything. So I hope like they have something in like a week or two. So probably in our next meeting in 2 weeks, I can hopefully, point you to like, okay, these are examples of the slides. This is examples of the content we have here. We can correlate them to labs. Here are the labs, by the way, that we have. So I really have hope to have something in like 2 weeks ready. And basically it would be indeed like helping defining the content on the slides. Also there, we have already a lot. Because, just some context, this type of approach we already did only internally at the company I was working for. So there are already a lot of slides, but now we're going to, update the slides, enrich it, and make everything open source, basically. But that will, I think, only cover like 60% of what we want to achieve. So there's still yeah, like a good 40% that new slides and new content needs to be created. I will be myself, of course, doing that, and made a block, reserved a block for it. But yeah, I'm only me, and there are other great minds and people here in the call. So I would really, yeah, love to see some help there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very worthwhile work. We definitely could help contribute to.
That would be great. Yes.
There's a couple people that know about software security on the call.
Exactly. Yes, I'm looking at the phone here icon, Dave. But yeah, we will. When the time is there, we definitely will hook up and yeah, utilize everybody who's interested to share. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Quick, and David again. Glenn, it's been a little while. We posted the fundamentals course materials as Markdown on GitHub a while back, but I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that. You might be able to use some of that material in the SKF work.
Yes, definitely.
It's all Creative Commons license. I forgot what license you guys are using, but ours is Creative Commons attribution.
Yeah. Well, that is maybe also something we need to discuss separately, because we have the GNU Apache or the GNU v3 license, but that's more from a software point of view. And actually, I don't remember we ever put a license model for all the material and content we created, the text and all that stuff that we utilize in SKF. So probably that's also, yeah, a good one to revisit that again and make sure we also have something in place for that. That is aligned with...
that content. Yeah, the content needs to be licensed, and Apache and so on are not really the best licenses for that. The usual rule for this group, I realize your situation is a little different, is Creative Commons, the CC BY attribution license, 4.0 at least. So if you did that, then we don't have to have the argument about license compatibility, because then we're using the same license, which I like simplicity. But so I would encourage you to do that, and if not, let's talk. But it would make sense to have them licensed in the same way, and then we can just share content back and forth as appropriate.
Yep. No, for sure, and that sounds good. So we definitely will put that as well in the to-do list.
So we have a couple questions in the chat for you, Glenn. Derek, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, sure. So I'm new and don't have a lot of background, so I apologize in advance. But
welcome.
I do a lot of DevSecOps from the pipeline integrations perspective. I see there's an ops section there. Is there going to be things like the best practices for types of scans to embed in a pipeline? Some of the general concepts there around software supply chain and the like, is that the kind of stuff that's going to go in there? Or like how to harden images? What's the type of content you're looking for there? Because we have a lot of it in my organization. I don't think we could donate it, but I could definitely go in and retype some of it in a more neutral language.
Mm-hmm. Well, to be honest, if I hear what you actually mentioned about the content, for me, it sounds like a new learning path in itself, actually. Because how we envisioned the ops infra, that was more like, okay, talking about the bare basics like firewalls and patch management and isolations, that type of stuff, right? Still really basic stuff. And if I hear you talking about it, it sounds more like a fourth learning path, actually. But yeah, maybe my understanding is that wrong, but for me, it sounds like, hey, this is more indeed like a fourth learning path for...
I look at automating all the things. So for me, it's a little bit of a blending of the two, but I can definitely see how that would be a separate one as well. Yeah, but I do think that that's a big conversation that's happening in general. I'd love to be able to point people at a resource like this to be able to get that basic primer and that information.
Yeah, because to be honest, when I was thinking about and saying about the vision, like I hope in the future we have like a fourth, a fifth, or more of those profiles that we can offer to people to learn from. And like I mentioned, I would love to also have like pipeline tools like CodeQL. Hey, how do you do this? How to set it up? How to make your own CodeQL rules? Or hey, OWASP, how do you configure and run it? Or dependency check, or other like tools you would normally embed in your pipeline, right? And also in the OpenSSF group, we have great tools like the Badge project and the Score. And yeah, how do you do that, right? So that could all fit maybe under there, or maybe separate ones, I don't know. But it sounds to me like a very interesting addition learning path, actually, on it itself.
Well, I would certainly vote for it. Happy to contribute a little bit to it if something like that were to happen.
Yeah. What I would then recommend is just to wait a tiny bit till things crystallize a bit, because it's really in flux now. And also, if we have like these learning profiles already in there, then probably a lot of the things you can reutilize, right? So that makes it your life also a lot easier if you want to contribute and make this new learning path. So I'm very excited to hear, that you have a lot of content and willing to work on that. So please give us a month, because in like 2 weeks I have hopefully the skeleton there that we can actually enrich the current profiles. And then hopefully in a month I can help you on board maybe to do the additional learning part that you just mentioned about the pipeline and supply chain examples, for example.
Sounds great.
Cool. Very awesome. Thanks for that.
Hopefully we'll lure you back to stay with the group, Derek. Spyros had a question comment for you, Glenn. Do you want to speak to that, Spyros?
Hi. Yes, sure. So is there any chance we can link the content to CREs, which should help you and the users of SKF discover and link to way more contents that you currently have, and also it should allow you to maintain the links long term, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen how we've discussed how you link things to each other currently, and I think the term you used was three-headed dragon or beast.
Yes.
So
yes.
it should help you like get rid of a couple of heads.
Yes. No, fully agree. And for the people who are not familiar with the CRE, so this is the our inventory project, right? Here at OpenSSF, and this working group, and also with SKF, we wanted to simplify the content because up to the last 7 years, we maintained and updated the checklist, knowledge base items, the correlations to all other frameworks and stuff like that. Then Spyros came and he said like, hey, I have an idea, something that also can benefit you guys. And that is this inventory project that links and correlates standards and requirements and knowledge like cheat sheets or other resources. So yeah, definitely, we're now looking into how to also implement the CRE into SKF. So together with myself, my brother, and Spyros, we're looking to replace a good chunk of the content in SKF with the structure and data from CRE, because they're actually sort of the same. And indeed, I asked Spyros for some help here, because currently the data and the correlation that we have in SKF, from checklist to knowledge base items to references like URLs, CWE data, and so on, I call it indeed a three-headed dragon. And if we don't do anything about it, it becomes a four-headed dragon. Yeah, and I don't want that. So that's why, yeah, definitely, Spyros, to come back on your question, we should be able to do something like that. Yeah. I want it to be one-headed dragon instead of four.
Thank you. Yes, many heads make it confusing. You don't even know where to look.
Yeah.
And Vicky, Spiros posted the link. I will update our Git repo with that as well after this call. All right. Any additional questions or comments for Glenn before we move on to Arnaud's question? All right. Arnaud, please, you have a question about the great MFA distribution.
Yes, that's right. Thanks. Well, first, I have a quick question. I want to make sure David received my latest email regarding the Knative request.
Regarding what request?
The Knative group finally, or project, gave me the list of people who would like to have a YubiKey token. I sent that to you.
Okay, I've been a little overwhelmed on the emails, so
It's all right.
I probably, you know what? Why don't you just if you can resend, I probably have it. It's probably in the endless queue of emails that I need to get to.
That's fine.
Why don't you
That's
just
fine.
resend, because I definitely want to deal with it.
Okay,
I
I just want to
they
make
get
sure it
the
doesn't
feedback.
get lost. And you see, this is the price of usually being good at responding quickly to email is you set an expectation. So if after a couple of days I don't get an answer, I'm like, oh, something went wrong. But so thank you.
As I mentioned earlier in the call, I'm having some personal life issues that are making things awkward for me. So why don't you just resend? My intent is to respond immediately, especially to stuff like that. And so if it's lost, my apologies, and let's get it right.
No, but it's okay. I mean, obviously they were very slow to respond, and I'm still working with the Kubernetes project as well. I expect to have the final list soon, but I keep having to probe them, and they say, "Oh yeah, please, thanks for pinging us. We really want some." And but so this is a bit of an ongoing.
Yeah, we don't actually have to have the individual names. If we have a person at the project who can help us do the distribution, an account, we can just send the codes to that person and then we often let projects figure out how to send them within the project, simply because some projects don't want us to know the exact email addresses of everybody. That's fine. We just want to make sure that they secure their system. We don't actually need their email addresses.
I thought the GitHub folks wanted to have the list so that they can kind of track the results, but maybe I got that wrong.
The GitHub folks, in order, that's why they have a two-step process. The GitHub does need it, but we, the OpenSSF, don't. What happens is there's validation. Sorry for those of you who are familiar with this, but if you want to get the GitHub tokens, there's a validation code and a coupon code. We send the validation codes to the project. The projects send those to their developers. The developers have to provide an email address, a GitHub, and the validation code to get a coupon code. So GitHub does find out about their email address, but the OpenSSF folks do not necessarily get that. And the goal for all this nonsense is to try to provide as maximum privacy as possible.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. I mean, thanks for clarifying this. But I think the issue here has been mostly on their side to figure out who needs it. And every time they say, okay, I think we have a list, somebody comes and say, oh, I'd like one too. So I said, okay, guys, I don't care.
They will have to figure that out.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll have to figure that out sooner or later.
Exactly. But so I'm still working on this.
We can't help them figure out who's on their project.
Yes. I understand. But so that brings me to my last question on this, which is broader, is that, I know we made a really strong push on this at the end of last year. And I think a lot of us, I have quite a few projects who never responded. And I know, looking at the spreadsheet, that's been the case for quite a few of us. And my question is, are we, should we take another crack at it? And maybe we need to shuffle the names around so that it's not the same people who tried. Maybe the next one is more lucky because he tries a different route or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, how's this? I do think we ought to take another bite at it. I also think that our short deadline during a holiday season was probably a problem for some folks. Although frankly, the advantage of short time frames is that people are more likely to respond. Some people are more likely to respond. So yes, we should take another crack. My suspicion is that so here's what I'm thinking going forward, but we haven't discussed this within this group, and we need to. The Critical Projects Working Group is talking about updating their list, and they're seriously talking about starting over with all the new data that they're expected to be getting. So my current theory is letting the Critical Projects Working Group come up with a newer, better list, and then using that to take another stab. And for the projects that didn't respond before, maybe, but are still in this new list, then try again, and maybe they'll respond this time. I don't want to try to send, but I don't know if anybody thinks that's a terrible idea or not, but it was a lot of work. I think it was worth it doing, but I think we need to do some other things, get a break, and then come back to this in a little while.
I think if we had a little time to coordinate as the contactors, saying, this is how I contacted Kubernetes and I didn't get a response. Does anyone have a better vehicle to get in? It's just like a 15-minute coordination chat or something on Slack. I think that would help us potentially overcome some of the non-responses.
Well, I will say we kept a spreadsheet for each project. We recorded how we contacted them. For a lot of projects, really the only way to contact them was to create an issue, say on GitHub, but they don't really have an easy match. This is not a bug, and it's not a feature request. So it's, I think for a lot of projects, it wasn't at all obvious how to even contact the project.
Right.
In many cases, I put it in as an enhancement because it's not a bug. But a lot of projects don't really monitor that much. They're overwhelmed with ideas. They just want pull requests, or merge requests. So I'm not sure that coordination within ourselves is the primary challenge. I think the primary challenge is figuring out how to better contact individual projects. And it's not clear that there is, in fact, an answer. If somebody has an answer, I'm all ears.
A couple of the projects I communicated to, they only offered up a security team message mail account. And those I had like a 1 out of 4 response rate on, where the security team responded back.
Exactly. The generic issue, a bug or an enhancement, in my case, actually worked better than reaching out to the security folks. I don't know why that is the case.
Security people.
Yeah, exactly. But just to add to your experience, I can confirm that. Yeah, but I think
the problem is that we don't fit in any of their buckets. This is not a bug. It's not a feature request. It's not a vulnerability. And so I think a lot of projects get that message and frankly don't know what to do with it. And so it goes into I'll deal with it when I have free time, which never happens file.
Yep, I think that's true.
But coming back to your proposal, David, let's first get a new version of the critical software list. That I think makes sense. Just wanted to.
I agree with that. I think that makes sense.
To that.
So, but to answer your earlier question, yes, I think we should do it again. Let's take a breather. Let's let the folks update some of this information. But yeah, I think it was successful. A lot of projects didn't respond, but we had no idea. We knew some wouldn't. We just didn't know the numbers. But we certainly got responses and we got results, and that's what we were hoping for.
And ideally, now
All
that
right.
we've demonstrated a little bit of success, hopefully people will hear about it, and the next time around will be even more successful because we've demonstrated what we did. All right. Any additional thoughts on this topic? Does anyone in the group have any other opens? So I found out what happened with Rob and his friends is there was a miscommunication. They were sitting on their own Zoom call as opposed to 12 of us joining them joining our call. So I will try to reschedule anyone that I will attempt to get them to come to this meeting. But if not, I may I'll put the invite out if it's at an alternate time or an alternate dial-in. And anyone that can attend and is interested is welcome. I'll get that set up hopefully later today to get a date for the next time to talk to them. All right. If no one has any other topics, I will let you all run free. 15 minutes of unbooked time. Enjoy it. I know I like 15 minutes out of my day to go run and think and walk around and pet the cat and whatnot. So everyone else, have a great day. Thank you for your attendance. And we will see you again in 2 weeks. And don't forget the town hall will be on the 23rd. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.